Welcome to the CP Media Platform, brought to you by Team CP, your endurance coaching specialist. I'm Angus Petrie, and alongside me, as always, is Team CP head honcho, team captain Richard Greer. Good evening, Richard.
Good evening, Angus. How are you getting on today?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. And you? How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Just had a good Zwift session, burned a few cobwebs, and looking probably quite red and flushed as a result of sweating lots just now.
Yes. It's been a race on the bike tonight, and then a race through the shower, and a race for dinner, and a race to get to my seat here. So, and get through hair and makeup. How did you get on with hair and makeup today?
I clearly didn't do as well as you, but I'll keep working on that for next week.
More hair, less makeup, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Just at the top of the show, wanted to have a bit of a shout out. Some news that we got today. Devin Burchett, who's a bit of a multi-sport stalwart in Canterbury, passed away today. So that was a bit of a shock. He, if you paddled a boat, you'd probably be paddling with him in wee catches and down in the Avon and things. And I actually paddled with him during the summer down the Waimak Gorge. Really sad news. So Devin, we paddled the river in summer, and I thought I was paddling quite well. Devin is an absolute weapon in the boat, and took a few sort of speedy, fast lines and got ahead of him every now and again. Thought I was doing quite well, and then towards the end of the paddle, I was trying my best. I was trying twice as hard as what I was earlier. I thought, well, maybe just my technique's not right. And Devin just kept pulling away from me, no matter what I could do. And then later on, I sort of thought about it a bit more and figured that he was actually obviously just toying with me early on in the paddle, and he had it over me all the time. So really sad news for Devin and his family and his all the friends and multi-sport community out there. Condolences and thoughts were with you.
And this photo here of Devin that we've got here now, this just sums him up just absolutely to a T. Always with a great big smile, always the adventurer, just a really good guy. Yep,
always willing to help, just down to earth, quietly spoken, but would give you the time of day and help you out as needed. So that's really, really sad news. It always shocks you when those sorts of things come up.
It was, but we'll all, all remember, and he'll always be with most of us as we're, stirring us on, driving down, paddling down the river and things like that. So never be forgotten, Devin.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
All right. Well, let's move to a happier note there. Let's what's on the show this week, Richard?
Yeah, so we've got a big show.
You've excelled yourself again and pulled a real punter.
Yeah. So we've got we're gonna backwards to front. So we're gonna finish off with George Rzoska. Actually, we profiled him a couple of weeks ago. He's got a really awesome story. Someone we've been working with for a couple of years. So we're going to finish off with him. We're going to talk to Cushla. Cush's on holiday officially, but we've said, sorry, Cushla, we missed you last week. You're eating burgers, so come back in. We're going to talk a bit of recovery nutrition with Cushla. And then we're going to kick off the show as of about now with Nathan Fave, adventure racing legend, adventure race organiser, adventurer, family man, and business owner, you name it, he's done it, and have a bit of a chat to Nathan.
And a humble guy at that. I know that it's been mentioned many a time that Nathan, probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest adventure racers of all time. He's been doing this for many years in and out of retirement and can't keep his finger out of the pie. But, he's won just about, I was looking at on his website there and looking at the list of things that he's won or accomplished there. And it's just an endless stream of results. And so without further ado, Nathan, I see him pricking his ears up there, so hopefully he's ready. You there, Nathan?
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome. Today, Nathan?
Beg your pardon?
How are you today?
Oh, sorry, Richard. Sorry. Yes. I'm good, thank you. No, I've had a good sunny Nelson day. So I've been out running today. I've been out paddling and managed to get some work done. So it's a fairly balanced day.
Yeah, good stuff. How long were you running for, and where'd you run today?
Oh, not all that long, to be honest.
Just 40
I've got a nice little run around where I live, which is about 8 kilometres, which I quite like to start the day with. And then just I actually live at a beach, so I do a lot of surf ski paddling, and I've got a little paddle that I go and do, which is about 10 or 11k. So it's just about an hour, but it's just nice to get out in the water. Sort of breaks up the office work.
Yeah, good job. So run in the morning, paddle midday.
Sorry, Rich. Are they back to back, or do you fit a chunk of work in between and then have a break, or what's the normal routine?
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't say I've got a normal routine, but at this time of year, I do split them up. So I quite like to run in the mornings before breakfast. Just a nice way to start the day, and then I usually try and do some work if I'm at home, and then at some point in the afternoon I'll get out on the water. This time of year I wait for it to warm up, and it's also, there's a bit more chance of waves in the afternoon, and there was a little bit today as well. There's a little bit of swell came through, so yeah, I try and wait and see if there's going to be a few bumps to go and ride.
Yeah, nice. Have a bit of fun with it. Good stuff. So Nathan, you've accomplished all sorts of different things, but I wanted to jump back for a start in terms of where you kicked off, where you began. You've been doing this for a number of years, and it all started, leaving school, sort of that sort of range. Talk us through your journey through to sort of getting into the multi-sport and adventure racing side of things.
Yeah, I think, my sporting career, but my sporting life really started when I was just a child growing up. I played a lot of team sport, mainly soccer and cricket, a little bit of rugby, and I guess just at school I was just into whatever sports were going, really, whatever the school was organising and things. It was in my senior years that I started to get more interested in outdoor sport, tramping, outdoor education. So we started doing a little bit of kayaking, and I guess I just had a bit more of an interest in that. Probably the exploring side of it, I think, was what was quite appealing to me, getting out into the mountains and just going places I hadn't really been before. And it was really when I left school, I found my way to an outdoor pursuits program at a local outdoor pursuits centre, which still operates up here, called Whenuiti Outdoors. And that's when I really got exposed to the bigger world, I think, of adventure, in terms of, there was instructors working full-time, I guess, doing these things, and taking student and rock climbing and rafting and sea kayaking. And I would have been, I think, 17 when I did that course, and that really was the catalyst, I think, for me. It was around that time, as sort of a teenager, that I sort of decided to sort of try and make a career out of being in the outdoors somehow, which pretty much led me to, in the first instance, to being an adventure guide. I sort of started some training in that field, but
well, Richard, looks like that. Oh no, he's back. Nathan,
back.
We were just talking before the show there that if you didn't want to talk to us anymore, that you could claim Kiwi internet, but we weren't actually thinking you were that serious about that.
Oh. Did it go? I wasn't quite sure. You lose me for a wee bit there, did you?
Just a small couple of seconds there.
Yeah. So you were just saying that you were you basically got into the outdoor industry and wanted to effectively do what the leaders that were taking the course were doing, be like them, sort of get into that side of things and train to become an outdoor instructor. Yeah,
that's right. That was the big motivation for me, and I think it was a big reason for that is that, I mean, up until that point in my life, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And as I kind of left school, or as a career, and by doing that course, it actually put me essentially on a fast track or a railroad, going, well, this is the field that I want to work in. So I just need to figure out how do I kind of make that pay, or how do I make it into a career. So I just started sort of pursuing that. I mean, at the same time, I'd sort of been doing quite a bit of running. The program that I did at the Outdoor Centre involved quite a bit of running, and a few of the tutors were running marathons, and I sort of started getting really quite interested or curious about endurance sport, and how far you can sort of push your body and things like that. So it was around that time, I think, when I was 17, I ran some marathons and sort of signed up for my first multi-sport race up here, and that essentially led me to the coast to coast. as an 18-year-old. So I probably spent about a year kind of doing sort of venture multi-sport kind of things through that period.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and obviously you went and did the coast to coast and sort of come out of nowhere. And what did you get, third that year or something like that? Was that right? In the longest day?
No, I was coming first after the first day, which was a total surprise to me. Like I went down there. I'd never been to Arthur's Pass before in my whole life. I'd never been through the course. All I knew is that if I just sort of follow everybody else, I'll end up in Christchurch. But it was a real big shock to me. I ended up leading after the first day, and I think set a record for the mountain run that year. And because the run, I think, was slightly different to the one-day run back in those days. And then, but then I wasn't that good a kayaker. So on the river the next day, I really struggled and fell out a few times. And I think I finished 10th or 11th in the end. But yeah, the sign was there. I was like, oh, okay, I could actually be quite good at the sport if I sort of focused on it a bit more, or just had more time doing it really.
Yeah, nice. So got into that, and before the show we were chatting around your mountain biking. You've done lots of adventure racing type stuff and multisport and things like that, but you've also represented New Zealand in mountain biking. Got selected for the Olympics in 1996, I think, was it? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I'd around the same time I was doing coast to coast, I was doing a lot of mountain biking. Like I think I got, my first mountain bike would have been about in the late 80s, I think, or certainly around 1990, somewhere in there. I think it was the late 80s actually. So I'd done quite a bit of mountain biking as training for the coast to coast and all the other things that I was doing. And I went back to the coast to coast in 1992. So this was the year after that I'd sort of led after the first day, but I was kind of overtrained and I'd actually been quite ill leading into been quite sick leading into the race. But the other thing was that I was really, really into mountain biking. So my real passion was mountain biking, and I was also racing the New Zealand national champs around the same time the coast to coast was on. So I think I might have even done a mountain bike race the weekend before, and I think I had a mountain bike race the weekend after the coast to coast. So my mind was really more in mountain biking. And around that time, so that year in the coast to coast 92, I didn't actually go that well. It was the year, it's what the old timers call the year of the flood. It was the first time that the river was cancelled, and basically it was a Monty bike ride from Klondike Corner all the way to Christchurch. And that was really, mountain biking was my passion, and really for the next for the next 5 years after that, I pretty much just buried myself in mountain biking. So I was New Zealand junior champion for cross country, and then I went into the senior ranks, and my best national ranking was cross country was number 2 in the country, which qualified me for the Olympics in 96. So yeah, I spent quite a bit of time racing, World Cup races around the world, and quite a bit of time racing in the States, building up for the Olympics. But we actually got pulled from the Olympics quite close to the games themselves, and that was pretty frustrating. And after that, that's when I actually quit mountain biking and started back at multisport, pretty much because of that, really.
What was the reason you were pulled? Was that New Zealand? Or
yeah, it wasn't really anyone's fault. It was what happened was that in 96 was the first year that there was mountain biking at the Olympics, and because mountain biking had started in the States, back in the 70s or whenever it was, they sort of felt that that'd be a good place to have mountain biking, I guess, make its appearance at the Olympic level. So it was just going to be a demonstration sport. I'm not even sure if they still have demonstration sports now, but essentially it was a non-medal sport. So we were racing the Olympics, but there wasn't any medals up for contention. It was just kind of, hey, here's a new sport. If this goes well, it'll continue to be an Olympic sport. But what happened the Olympic year was that mountain biking was just growing so fast, and there was so much excitement around it and so much hype that during that year they decided that mountain biking would actually just become a full medal sport. That they would just not worry about the whole demonstration thing. But the problem is that what that meant for a lot of smaller countries, and like New Zealand, is that prior to that, the mountain bikers, we were just doing our own thing. The New Zealand Mountain Bike Association just said, "Oh, we'll just take our top 2 riders," and I was number 2. So that was easy. We'll just, they can go and ride the demonstration race at the Olympics. When they made it a full medal sport, what that meant is that the mountain bike team had to be part of the greater cycling team. And the greater cycling team already had their team. They had track cyclists, time trialists, and their road team. So it was kind of like, no, we're not going to, we can't kick anyone out of this team because it was capped. They were only allowed, I think, 30 riders. So yeah, basically they said, look, the mountain bikers can't go. Kathy Lynch, who was the female mountain biker that qualified, she did get to go and race the mountain bike race, but only because she was in the road team. If she wasn't in the road cycling team for the Olympics, she wouldn't have got to do the mountain bike race either. So that's basically what happened. But yeah, it was pretty frustrating. So, but yeah, after that, I'd always been keen to get into multisport. So for me, that was like, oh, fine, this is a good excuse to move on from mountain biking and get back into multisport.
Right, and so we've got a little journey we want to go on. I'm not sure where that's echoing from. Is that? Yeah. So we've got a wee journey we want to go on and where we want to end up at here to talk about what's coming up in your next thing, because that's pretty darn exciting in itself. But so you ended up adventure racing. So what actually, that first adventure race, or what led you to get to there? How did you end up in the adventure racing world?
I think probably the same for a lot of New Zealanders. I think. I guess because I always had a real interest in obviously the racing side of things, but also the adventure. I was kind of reading Adventure magazine, and I was sort of following the exploits of Steve Gurney and John Howard and Keith Murray, and they were going around doing these multi-day expedition races around the world, and obviously Southern Traverse was here in New Zealand. So I guess I always watched it and sort of thought, at some point I'd like to do an adventure race. But I was never really in any real rush. I kind of knew that, when the time's right, I will, I'll be keen. And I think around then, I kind of always knew I'd be good enough to join a team, because I by that point I'd been, obviously I'd come from mountain biking. I'd done quite a lot of multi-sport already as well. But the other thing was I was a professional outdoor instructor. So I was kind of working in the outdoors. So I didn't have any sort of doubts about my ability to be an adventure racer. But when you haven't done an adventure race, it's quite hard to convince some people that you'd be good. So a couple of times I sort of put my hand up, when I heard there was teams needing someone. And the first question I normally ask, have you done one of these races before? And I was always like, no, I haven't, but I'll be right. And they go, no, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I was like, oh, well, whatever. So I just said, when the time's right, I'll just step up and do one. And the time came in 1999, and the main reason was that year is that the Southern Traverse, which had traditionally always been around the Queenstown Fiordland area, Jeff decided to run it in Nelson, which is my hometown. So yeah, that was easy. I was like, all right, I've got to do it. I've got to do the Southern Traverse this year. It's in Nelson. So I basically called Kathy Lynch and asked if she was keen to race, and she was super keen to race with me. She had no doubts that I'd be fine. And the last couple of years leading into that, I'd been racing Steve pretty hard at Coast to Coast, and he knew that I'd be fine for an adventure race as well. And so we pretty much got together and formed a team for that 1999 Southern Traverse. And then really that is what has been, I guess, 20 years of adventure racing now, I suppose.
Yeah, that's impressive. What excites you about adventure racing? Why do you like adventure racing so much? Because obviously you've retired a couple of times, but then come back to it. So what is it for you about adventure racing?
I think there's lots of things. At different times, there can be different things that motivate me about what I like about it. But I think for me, a big part of it is the it's obviously the adventure. Like, you go and do amazing things. You you might be sea kayaking through some amazing waterway, and then mountain biking on some fantastic trail, and then hiking through some amazing mountains, whatever it may be. So I really enjoy the adventure aspect of the whole journey, expedition type sort of feel. For me, the teamwork was a really big draw card getting into adventure racing, and I think it still is. Having been a mountain bike racer, pretty hard out for 5 or 6 years, and also being a multi-sporter, I'd sort of become pretty used to just racing on my own and doing my own thing. So when I joined adventure racing for the first time, it kind of made me realise how much I missed being part of a team. Because as a kid, most of the sport I did was team sport. So that was one of the big appeals as well. And then I think the other thing for me is that, what I still really love about adventure racing is I just like going out and challenging myself and kind of doing missions and pushing pretty hard. And adventure racing provides that. I really love how in the week of an adventure race, you kind of throw away the rule book of life, really, and you just go out and just get through the course as best you can. It's pretty basic, sort of primal kind of focus for a week. So I actually really like that part of it.
Sorry.
A lot of the time, like you just sort of said, the lead up to these races is about the missions and the mates and the bits and pieces out there. But Nathan, you've probably, I guess, been known as the leader for a lot of your teams, and it's a team sport. But I guess the perception's always been that they've been Nathan's teams, or you've been the leader of those teams. Did that come naturally to become the leader? How and when did you end up in that role? And you've obviously successfully carried that on for many years.
Yeah, I think it did come reasonably naturally. It wasn't always the case. When I first started racing, I didn't have any adventure racing experience for a while. So for at least the first 3 or 4 years, I was just joining other teams. But I think just through my career, at that point I was an outdoor educator. I'd worked as an adventure tourism guide in a number of different capacities. So I think you're just naturally in leadership roles in those environments. And you're also, I guess, get quite focused on efficiencies, when you're guiding or instructing, about how things can just be done more efficiently. So I know that after a few years of adventure racing and then just being part of other teams as a team member, that I sort of started to sort of see how things could be done better or improved and run more efficiently as a team. So I was pretty keen to get into a leadership role, captaincy role. It really came in, I'd say the turning point for me was in 2002. So I actually hadn't been racing that long on the grand scheme of things. But really how that came about was that I sort of secured essentially what became one of the biggest sporting sponsorships, I think, in the sport, which was the Seagate corporate sponsor. Mm-hmm. And I negotiated that in 2000 and the end of 2001 for the 2002 season. And then I think that just kind of naturally put me in the captaincy leadership role because I was the one who had pretty much found the money. So everyone was like, oh, fine.
I'll follow you.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. That's how Richard gets his role too.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's got to do it. How do you, for others, Spring Challenge, God Zone, etc., what are some sort of key leadership tips you would give to others that are looking to take on that leadership role to make sure that the team can function as best as they can?
Yeah, the leadership thing, I think, my kind of one big philosophy on leadership, has been composure. Like, for me, as a leader, if there's one thing that I want people to kind of take away or remember me as a team captain or the leader of the team, whatever you call it, is that I've been composed and calm and not get rattled by things or not panic about things. And I think what happens, why that is because I think if you can maintain your composure most of the time, and I'll admit I don't always do that, but my core teammates will know that occasionally I'll lose it. But you know, most of the time I'm pretty calm and composed, and the reason for that is because I know and that if I am like that, you basically, you're always approachable, and you're more likely to get a lot more trust and honest communication between the team and within the team if people know they can sort of say things without being judged or shot down, or that, you know, that there's you know, nothing will shock me really as a team captain. So it's kind of like, if you've got an idea, no matter how crazy it is, tell me what you're thinking, because it, you know, it might lead me to think of something else or whatever it may be. So and I think just in the heat of racing, you know, adventure racing's a hard sport. You know, you guys know what it's like. You're out there for days and days on end. There's times when it is just miserable. You know, you're not having any fun, and I think it's and I think that, you know, in those times, I think, you know, it'd be really easy for people to say things that they didn't mean, or people interpret things the wrong way, but you know, for me, it's been really important just to keep a real calm, relaxed, fun kind of culture in the team, and you know, and ultimately we're just trying to extract our best performance. You know, we're ultimately trying to win the race, so it's just figuring out what are the important building blocks for that. So yeah, I think to answer your question, you know, what should people sort of try and strive for? I think the first thing is that, you know, as a leader, I think you need to find your own leadership style, whatever comes sort of natural. But you know, I think for me, a big part of it is the leaders that I see most effective are the ones that are usually pretty calm and composed, and they don't kind of rush around panicking about stuff.
Yeah. And on that, like because you haven't slept and because you're eating, like you've eating at all crazy times of the day, you're under pressure, you're in a race. How do you push yourself mentally? How do you get through those dark times? As you say, I might have been a couple of days with actually not having a whole lot of fun. It's raining and miserable, and we're probably going the wrong way. How do you keep going and digging deep and just keeping on trying? How do you do that rather than waving the white flag?
Yeah, I think it's probably changed a lot. You know, it's hard for me to remember back to when I first started with adventure racing, but I think for me, you know, right from the first time that I started adventure racing, the goal was to win the race. You know, when I joined the Southern Traverse team, we were sort of the race favourite. So I guess when you're in a team that has a goal like that is not only realistic but probably also expected, you know, I don't actually think your mind actually wanders that far from kind of the goal or what's actually helpful. So I don't sort of feel like I've really been in adventure races where I've sort of thought about quitting or sort of had negative thoughts for very long, or just started whinging for about things, because I've always been in teams where it's like, well, you know, we're on a mission here, and you know, this is what we signed up for. So let's just get on with it and get the job done. So I think there's a teams I've raced, and I think there's definitely a part of it where it's just like, well, just suck it up and get on with it, because you know we knew it wasn't going to be easy. So there's a little bit of that mentality. But I think also for me, you know, the more you race, the more you learn how to keep yourself comfortable as well. So, you know, I think, you know, we suffer a lot less in the races now than we used to, because we just have better ways of managing ourselves, so we can avoid that kind of inevitable suffering that usually always happens. But I guess one of the little mental things that plays on my mind sometimes, or not plays, but I'll think about racing is that, you know, our team's obviously a good team, and you know, we've won heaps of races, and yeah, I mean, there's not much I can say about that. But I often think if we're finding it hard, then you know, we're not going to be the only ones that are finding it hard. So I think one of the mindsets that we often adopt in our team is that if we're struggling, then everyone's struggling, and therefore this is probably where the race is going to be won or lost. So I think that helps us keeps us motivated and sort of positive, and you know, just knowing that this is probably this time, whatever it is we're suffering through, whatever's making us the level of discomfort high, it's probably the race winning opportunity. So we just have to suck it up and keep going.
And you're just talking about this great team, so I guess a little bit of a good segue here, just to drop in here. You are putting the team back together. You're putting the band back together. You're having one more trip around the block. First of all, what has made you come out of retirement again and want to do this again? What is the actual attraction there? And two, is it the original team? Who are your team members? How many of the original are there?
This is for Godzone, isn't it? You're talking about.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So well, I guess you're right. We are putting the team back together for Godzone, and it kind of does probably sound a little bit weird, but for me, it doesn't feel as much that we've put the team back together, but we kind of evolved away from the core team, and then we've just kind of evolved back to the core team. So essentially what happened is that after the World Champs in 2016, which were in Brazil, after that race, I actually decided that was enough for me. I just needed a bit of a break, and I didn't want to race anymore. At least take another year off. Let's have a bit of a break from it. And then so the team were fine with that. But then I guess sort of as the summer went on, this because traditionally I've controlled the sponsorship. We started to realise that the sponsorship may not exist if I wasn't to race, and then. So I kind of thought, once I'd had a few months off and sort of thought about it, I was like, and then the World Champs were announced to be in Australia in 2017. I was like, actually the World Champs are in Australia. It's not far to go. Maybe I should race. So I decided to get back into the team for 2017. And not long after that, Sophie announced that she was pregnant with her first child. Yep. So then, so that's how the team kind of, I guess, started sort of evolving apart, really, because Soph went off and started a family. So then we had Joe Williams come and race with us for a year, and then we won the World Champs in Australia that year. And then the following year, the World Champs were in America, and I just wasn't keen to race in America. I've raced there quite a lot, especially with mountain biking. And the race was also at altitude, and I try and avoid racing at altitude if I can. So I stepped out of the team in 2017, but then I came back in 2018 for the Reunion Island race, and Sophie was going to join the team again for that race, but then she got pregnant again, and then so then Joe got back in the team again, but then she injured herself about 6 weeks before the race. So then we got Fleur Pawsey to join us, who came in at kind of last minute. So that was that team, and then last year, Sophie's had basically had 2 children, and her boy was pretty much getting fairly independent, as young babies do, and she was quite keen to get back out and potentially do a race. So then last year we actually got together the core team, which is Sophie, Stu, Chris and I, for Eco Challenge in September, but we were also supposed to do the World Champs in Sri Lanka, but that was cancelled because of the terrorist bombings in Sri Lanka. Right. So so I know that a lot of people think, we've sort of got the team back together for Godzone, but we actually had got back together last year and did one race. We were going to do a couple, and then same with this year. We had planned to do 1 or 2 races, maybe even 3. And it was actually Sophie was the one who said, "Hey, we should do Godzone because it's in the North Island, and she's from the North Island originally, from around where the Godzone's going to be." So she thought it'd be really fun to basically go back to her sort of hometown and with her team and do the Godzone. So that's how we ended up back at Godzone.
Nice. That's how it's evolved. Excellent. And it does evolve, doesn't it, over time as you sort of come and go, and it just makes sense, obviously, as well as people have come and gone out of the team. And as you mentioned earlier, it's all about adventures and having fun and seeing if we can, and obviously competing at that top level, which is pretty awesome. Can you just sort of take another sort of, like, you're a family man, you've got 3 kids, they do a whole bunch of adventures. A couple of years ago, I saw you at Hamner as the family bike down was it the St. James and then back out the Rainbow or one or the other, and camped in Hamner for the night.
That's right. Yeah. We've done the Rainbow Molesworth, I think. Yeah.
Molesworth, that's right. And like we work with a whole bunch of people that have families and try and get their team out there doing stuff. What are some advice for parents trying to get their kids enthusiastic? Because your kids do some pretty amazing stuff. How much complaining is there from them? How do you kind of manage that? How do you come up with getting the family out there doing stuff and pulling them in the right direction?
Yeah. Well, I think, for starters, we're probably a little bit unique in terms of a family in that Jodie, my wife, was also an outdoor instructor and adventure guide. So as parents, taking people on outdoor or facilitating outdoor experiences for people is what we're most qualified in. Mm-hmm. So raising our children, our skill set is actually doing stuff in the outdoors. So our kids just naturally grew up doing lots of outdoor adventure, relative to their age, I suppose, because that's just what Jodie and I knew. That's what that's what our gear. There's the gear we've got, and that's what we enjoy doing. I do get quite a few people saying to me, "Oh, I'd love to do more with my kids, but they're not into it." They say to me, "Oh, you're lucky, your kids are all into it." It's like, well, they weren't. They just learnt, how to get into it or be involved. And I think what probably quite key is kind of starting the kids young. Like when kids are young, they just adapt to whatever lifestyle the parents provide for them, really. So if you've got young kids and you want them to form a nice close relationship with the outdoors, you just have to spend a lot of time outdoors with them and give them those opportunities. And when they start young, they don't know any different. They don't know what is normal or what's different or what other kids are doing. They just do whatever the family does. And when we were younger, we obviously you want to make it a lot of fun. Just the stuff we did wasn't all that difficult, I don't think. And we take lots of treats and make sure they're warm and just make the whole experience as kind of fun. And then I think because they've grown up with it, they just don't know any differently. But no, they certainly as they got older, for sure, they would start sort of resisting and say, "Oh, I don't want to do that," or "That's too hard," or this sucks. This is cold. Let's shorten this trip, or let's go home tomorrow, or whatever it is. And but I guess Joe and I, just given our our careers, is that we've often used those outdoor opportunities as teaching moments and teaching the kids that how to persevere and how to be resilient through challenge and how to make themselves comfortable in the outdoors or look at options or weigh things up or whatever it is. So it's a great kind of, I think, environment for that. But the thing I'd say though as well, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, are you mindful in the background though that not always are your children going to be interested in the same thing that you are or whatever, and that the day will come that actually, this is your thing, Dad, this isn't actually my thing or our thing type of thing? You're mindful of that goes on there, or? Yeah,
I think, for sure. Like, I think, as they get older, they will start to choose their own interests, and they are now, to be honest. My kids are very soon will be 14, 16 and 18, so that they're young adults. But Jodie and I's goal really, as parents, is that we wanted them to grow up to prioritize health and fitness, basically healthy body, healthy mind, and to have an environmental appreciation and that our natural environment is worth protecting and showing them why that is, the beautiful places. And we travel into these places and, they see how amazing New Zealand is, or wherever it is we're doing trips in the world. And, and we were thinking if they can sort of come away with those things, then that's all we really want. Whether they're into, the different outdoor sports or whatever it is, doesn't really worry us too much. They can sort of choose that themselves. But we kind of figured if they learned a lot of lessons, but just come away with that connection to nature really, and the importance of just maintaining, a good sort of level of health, then that would be sort of a success for us. But I think there's probably two more things I'll say to the sort of parenting and kids in the outdoors, and one is that it's often quite a bit of work to get the kids out of the outdoors. Like if you go camping, with young children, there's lots of gear, and it does take quite a lot of energy and a reasonable amount of resources. But we definitely found, and we've noticed this with friends of ours as well, is that once the kids are actually away, they're actually a lot easier to manage. And I often sort of hear about, or sometimes see, kids that are playing up or quite difficult, and they're just stuck inside all day. And I just think, if those parents could actually just get the energy and know that if they actually made the effort and actually took them down to the beach, or took them down to the river, or took them down to the park and started climbing some trees, the kids will be so much easier to look after than what they are kind of bouncing off the walls of the house. They're basically imprisoned. So that's one thing. And that sort of the two go hand in hand really. The other thing is just reminding parents that, sure, our kids, we did a lot of outdoor adventures with our kids, and I think they were really, really great experiences that we've had as a family. But it did require a lot of work. Like, there'd be a lot of weekends where Joe and I just knackered at the end of the week. And we think the last thing we want to do is try and load up for a big family mission this weekend. But we just knew that it's what we needed to do. And we just basically dug deep and made those things happen. And once you sort of get into that habit, then it's a lot easier. But I think sometimes people just got to realize that it does take a bit of work and energy, but it is worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. So planning, doing some planning, and you never regret when you're out there, do you? When you've actually made the effort to get out there and had that experiences, and those are just things you never forget.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Just one final question, Nathan. Spring Challenge is a big part of your year and a big part of many people's years, and a real staple in the multi-sport adventure racing calendar. And it's something it's been the facilitator to get a lot of people active and outdoors and working together. And you see around the Port Hills the three women mountain biking through July and August, which are the coldest months of the year, up the hills and things, which is pretty awesome. But what's one or two key tips you would give people that are either just starting out, so a just starting out tip, and hey, we want to try and do our best tip? What are a couple of things you would give people that are lining up for the Spring Challenge?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think, one thing that we always say to people is, especially getting into it, is that navigation is actually one of the disciplines. So I know the event is marketed as hiking, mountain biking, and rafting, but navigation is definitely there as well. And so I always say to people, just make the time to learn to navigate, because you'll enjoy the race a whole lot more, and you'll feel probably a lot more empowered by navigating your own way around.
Yep.
And it's just part of the sport. And one thing we've never done with the Spring Challenge is modify in any way, because it's a women's race. We just go out and organise an adventure race that we would like to do ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's only for women, well, that's just what it is. So we don't kind of go, we'll make it, we better not make it too hard because it's a women's race. It's not like that at all. And some years, people can really struggle with the navigation. So I always tell people, there is navigation involved. So you can do the race and probably finish by just following other teams, but you just don't always know if they're going the right way, and that's often the case. We've had some epic instances of one team taking 50 teams off course,
because they look like they know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just sort of second doubting themselves and things. So that's a big one. I mean, there's lots of things, lots of tips, but the other one I'd say, just to sort of make sure that the whole experience is a positive one, is just choose your teammates. Just take your time, or be a bit selective about who you race with. Every year we see not that many, but we do see teams that have been quite dysfunctional, and you can tell they haven't actually had a good day. Nothing to do with the event or the course. They just haven't enjoyed being together. And I think that's usually because teams, they just get together with someone or people they didn't really know or really want to race with for whatever reason, or the team just hasn't taken the time to communicate on what their race day goals are. So they don't really talk about it, and then the race starts, and there might be one or two people that want to race really hard and try and get a placing, whereas the other person in the team or other people think that the idea was to go and have fun and not really get caught up in the race. So yeah, I think that's a big one. And in terms of enjoying the day is just get ideally you want to race with friends, really, a group of friends. So you just make it a lot of fun, and the training's fun, the race is fun, the weekend away is fun. The whole thing is just really positive.
Yeah, so be on the same page, and people that you've done stuff with before, so kind of what they're like and how fast they go, and going at the same pace.
Yeah, totally. And just having a good team talk, just like, what are our goals here? What are we trying to do? And everyone get clear with what their expectations are. I think is worth investing in.
Yeah, perfect.
And before we go, just looking back through your results list here on your website, and when you look at things like that, I guess that's a great snapshot of good memories that are there. But one of those memories that you've got listed there actually intrigues me, because it reminds me, and you're going to take this the right way, hopefully. This reminds me of how good I actually was, Richard. And Nathan, you've got here in 2014, you were first at the Bannockburn Row game. Now, if I am correct, I think I was second that day to you at the Bannockburn Row game. And what was happening there is that we were trying to put a team together for the Wanaka edition God's Own race.
Yes.
And we had attracted young Georgia Whitler, which was going to be her first God's Own attempt.
Yes.
We thought we were, trying to, talk her into racing us. She actually cunningly individualized us out and took us to an event individually, I think, to decide whether she would race with us.
I see. Yes.
And my turn was actually at the Bannockburn Row game. Now, I can clearly remember lining up there, and people said to me, "Shit, is she your teammate?" And I was like, "Yeah." Good luck, mate. Good luck. And this happened multiple times throughout the day. And I don't know, she went up the hill and back the hill, and she had another checkpoint, and I'm still, floundering around. But anyway, I think looking at your results, she just reminded me of that day that, hey, I got second to Nathan one day.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, I remember that day. I think I did it with Bob McLaughlin from
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. So, we were living in Queenstown during that time. So, just down the road. That was good. Oh, good work.
Nice. Anyway. Perfect. Well, Nathan, thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. And thanks for sharing your stories and your take on how you do things. And hopefully that's been useful for a whole bunch of people out there. I know that I've got a lot out of it, and some good parenting tips amongst that as well. Not just to bring the big stick out when needed, to make sure that we guide our kids rather than beat them too badly.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks heaps, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you so much.
Oh, cheers.
Thanks. Good job. Well done, Angus.
How good, eh? Absolute, joined by an absolute legend of the adventure racing world. That's
probably the legend of the adventure racing world, to be honest. How many adventure racing world championships he's notched up, and all the different things that he's done. Oh no, I just got selected for the Olympics, riding with mountain bikes and things like that. That's pretty solid, isn't it? So.
And what I love there is I know Nathan does do speaking events. He does do motivational things where he does charge a well-earned fee for that. So for him to give his time up for us And for all of you people out there in our CP network, to get that, first-hand conversation with him, Nathan, thank you very much for giving that up for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump into catching up with Cushla, shall we? We want to talk a little bit about recovery nutrition and a couple of key tips that Cushla's got in regards to recovery. So, Cushla, are you there? Come in, Cushla.
Cushla, tell me,
Yeah.
Cushla, how do I recover from eating Ferg burger?
A big lie down.
Brilliant.
No, well done. Good work. And you had a good holiday away, but you're going to join us tonight and talk a little bit about recovery nutrition. What are your couple of key things that you want to cover there?
Yeah, it's a big topic, but I will try and keep it short and sweet tonight, I guess, and give a few key tips for people to think about. So with recovery and nutrition, it's always important. Doesn't matter what level of athlete you are, whether you're a beginner or elite, it's always important, and it will always enhance your performance when done correctly. I guess the main thing people think about when they think about recovery and nutrition is this window of opportunity. So that 60-minute window or thereabouts after you finish your training session, that you have to get that nutrition in. That's not always entirely true. It really depends on quite a few things. So firstly, if you've actually had a meal before your session that included protein and carbohydrates, that window of opportunity is not quite as essential. Like, you don't have to stress about it as much. Still, you might need a snack or a meal after, but you don't need to be as strict about it. Again, if say you've gotten up and you've trained fasted, or you didn't have a meal for quite a while before your training session, that's where that window of opportunity, you need to be a bit more onto it, and you need to maybe have that snack or a meal straight after your session. With recovery, you don't need fancy supplements unless you have, say, really high energy needs, or you're training multiple times a day, then it can become like a convenience thing. But I always go by whole foods first. Like, you just can't beat good old plain food. You don't need all the protein shakes and things. And I guess if there's like some key points people will take away with recovery and nutrition, think about the 3 R's. So that's refuel, repair, and rehydrate. So refueling, you're wanting to basically replenish the carbohydrates you used in that session, particularly if it was a longer or higher intensity session. So you need to be including things after your session like rice and pasta, some toast, yogurt, all those sort of things. And then repair, so obviously that's where you need to make sure your muscles are recovering. Muscles aren't just a block and that's it. They're constantly building up and breaking down, and of course your training is a stress on them, and there's wear and tear. So for people who are training lots, it's basically just a constant cycle of building up and breaking down. Of course, the protein foods you eat have amino acids in them, and then they help to replenish those muscles and help them repair. And again, that's particularly important, getting in those protein foods if you've gotten up trained first thing in the morning, or if you have, really high energy needs, or if you're just hungry, then you should eat. And of course, protein foods, so thinking dairy, eggs, chicken, fish, lentils, legumes, nuts, all those good foods. And the last is the rehydrate. So you can just drink to thirst, like Richard is. Or a hard and fast rule would be, you can just weigh yourself before a session and after, and then basically times the weight you've lost by 1.2 to 1.5 and consume that over 4 to 6 hours after that session. So don't try and scale it back in an hour. That's not very efficient for the body. Try and sort of space it out, but make sure you get it in if you're training again, say later in the day. That's really important.
So 1.2 to 1.5, because you want to replenish what you've lost, but you're going to still be sweating. So you need to be able to sort of keep drinking a little bit more based on that.
Yeah, even if you're just at rest, you're always losing water through your renal system, through your breathing, through your skin. It's just constant. So your losses are constant. And of course, if you've had an exercise session earlier in the day, then you're still trying to replenish those losses as well.
Perfect. So we're going to test Angus. So we've got 3 hours. What's the first one, Angus?
Refuel.
Okay, number 2.
That's right.
Have you got number 3? Well, let's take number 2 out. What's the third one?
Oh, I don't know. What was the third one? Jeez,
There we go. Well, maybe you can go back to the podcast episode later and check
That's
out
right.
with that.
Well, if you're on the podcast, I'll get it all in. Jeez, Rich.
Cushla, do you want to what? So the first one, number
So
one.
3 hours for recovery is refuel, so refueling that energy, so the carbohydrates.
Yep,
Repair,
yep.
so you'll want to repair the wear and tear on your muscles with protein and those amino acids, and rehydrate to replenish those fluids you've lost in your session through sweat. And the best way to think about recovery nutrition is think that training is the stress on your body, there's wear and tear and there's breakdown. Those 3 hours, so the refuel, repair and rehydrate helps your body bounce back from that session. You adapt, you rest, and then you go back into your next session. And hopefully with that whole cycle continuing, you have enhancements in your performance and you become a better athlete.
Perfect. Look at that. No, that's fantastic. And you've even written it down there, Angus, so you remember for next time. And I'm going to test you tomorrow. Absolutely.
Right,
well done.
right. Cushla, just quickly, what is the risk if we don't do that? Like we're saying that this is what we need to do. Are we at risk of muscle damage? Are we what is our risk for not actually going through this process?
I guess if you're not doing proper recovery nutrition, or you're getting up and you're fasting and you train and then you don't really have a proper breakfast, it's quite a catabolic state. So your body, it's had wear and tear, it's broken down, and then it's not getting what it needs to bounce back from that session. So if you go into your next session without adequate recovery, you're probably going to not get as much out of it. You're probably going to feel a bit more average, and even through the day, it might actually affect just your day-to-day function because your nutrition's not up to scratch. So the flow-on effects are quite significant. And if you're doing that constantly, just not, properly looking after your body and repairing and replenishing what it needs, then you're just going to go off on a trail that isn't actually improving your performance at all. So you can't really expect to have gains as an athlete when you're not giving your body what it needs to bounce back.
You're going to be breaking your body down, but then you're not going to be able to build it up properly and therefore over time being sick, injured, overtrained. I just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a fine balance, but you just want to have that balance right. And if you're obviously trying to improve, then you want to be bumping that up ever so slightly every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well done, Cushla. Thank you so much for your time. Absolutely
Refuel,
perfect. And
repair, rehydrate. I got this.
Nice.
Good stuff. You might become a better athlete, Angus. Who knows?
And I'm sure there's heaps more to talk about with recovery nutrition, but we can save that for another time.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job. Thanks, Cushla.
Great to see you again. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Good job. Well done.
I never was very good at tests there, Richard.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's very good. We're going to jump straight into catching up with George, shall we? George, are you in? Are you there? George Rzoska. There he is. George, hey, I sent the message out. Super keen to talk to you. You've been part of our team for a little while now, and you've really discovered this whole running journey thing, haven't you? You originally come on board because you needed to tick off the police test. That was the original way. So, just what is the police test?
So the initial test is the big thing that I was originally struggling with was the 2.4K run. And that has different times that you need to reach based on your BMI. So my target pace for that is running it in 11 minutes, 15 seconds, which it's a decent wee clip going along there. And I was really struggling at kind of shaving away the last kind of 30 seconds. And unfortunately I had a couple of unsuccessful cracks at it. And it was something that I realised that probably on my own speed that I probably wasn't going to achieve quickly. So that's when I decided to get a coach to aid me with my running. So that's kind of when someone actually through my mum suggested Team CP. And I looked into it, and that's when I linked up with you guys, and it's been about 18 months now, and I've come a long way from being able to run about 3 kilometres at max to now looking ahead at some pretty cool adventures.
I think come a long way is almost an understatement there, George. From all the different things that you've done and been involved with, and you're working with James, and just constantly kind of adding ideas to your head. But also, it's not just about James either. It's also about the Team CP community, and sometimes you wonder whether they're good friends when they sort of say, "Oh, you should come and do this. You should come and do this." So, what's one of your couple of key highlights that you've done over the last 18 months or so?
Yeah, I have to touch on that. I am a sucker. I get a message at the 11th hour saying, "Oh, do you want to come for a run?" And I'm horrible at turning things down, so I always usually, if I'm not at work, I always tend to turn up. But yeah, I guess I've been fortunate enough to kind of be introduced to the great Team C community. And picked up some great friends along the way. The likes of Jen Halliday, Jacob Lamont, Jen Wozniak, and Emma Hayes. They've been a really tight group. They've kind of taken me on under their wing, so to speak, and they've kind of introduced me to this whole idea of ultra running and really pushing yourself over those kind of long distances. I've kind of come to the realization that I'm no speedster, and I'm never going to be at the front of the pack for any events like that. So I quite like just chipping away at something, and I've found that these longer distances, you don't have to be the fastest, but it's kind of that chipping away in these, and just being able to kind of sit at that comfortable pace for a long time, where I've started to really quite find a lot of enjoyment, and in doing so, I'm looking at doing my first 50k near the end of the year.
Which event is that?
Crazy K's over at Orton Bradley Park. So
that's not just any adventure, like any ultra run, 50Ks. You've got a fair bit of vertical climbing as well, and then also descending. That's the challenge.
Yeah, so it's 2,500 meters of elevation gain and loss. So I'm sure the legs are going to be thanking me that evening once it's all over and done. It's a challenge, and kind of from when I first linked up with James a couple of years ago, was I went in with this personally, I came with the singular focus of passing this police entry test, and he proposed to me then and there on the spot of running a half marathon. I laughed and almost shot down the idea very very quickly, thinking, I don't think that's quite me. But sure enough, that idea came up a couple of times, and sure enough, I ran my first half marathon, and it wasn't the tidiest of events, and I think I came dead last out of the whole field, but had another crack at it at the Christchurch half marathon last year, and was really happy with my showing and my time, and I've kind of.
How much faster was Christchurch versus your original one?
It's kind of hard to compare. The first one was a wee bit trail,
off-roady, but even so, that just makes it.
Yeah, it was 40 minutes difference between.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Between one that was at the middle of March to the start of June. There was a lot of time dropped off that, but I've kind of from there. I think in the last 12 months or so, I've run now 7 or 8 half marathons, and they've been quite an enjoyable thing, and I've become comfortable with kind of that distance. So I've kind of looking at the next goal and the next step down the line of kind of what I want to challenge myself with next, and originally the kind of the medium term goal was going to be the Christchurch Marathon this year. Of course, that it didn't come to fruition. So the next one was I decided at the end of last year that I'd really like to have a crack at Crazy K's. Being involved with it last year, with going and watching Jen and Emma have a crack at their 100. It was a really cool experience, and I thought the event itself was really relaxed, and organisers were there for to kind of get you across the line. It wasn't like there was time constraints or anything like that. There wasn't that type of pressure. So I think that this is going to be a good first attempt in a first ultra. I think that's probably going to be a kind introduction to it, without having the pressures of time. So yeah.
And just before we go, George, you'd have to say that, you know, you're a living, breathing example, but you'd have to say that, you know, for anybody with the right, with the right support, and you chose to use Team CP for that, and the community and the coach, you know, it's quite achievable for anybody. Once you put your mind to it and you've got that support, would you take that as a fair thing that, you know, anybody could have a crack?
Yeah, absolutely. As I was kind of touched on earlier, I came in being able to run about 4 kilometres, and now, looking at tackling my first 50 is I've come from kind of a very low ability, and I guess I had a footing in exercise doing rugby for a few years, but I went off to uni and found alcohol and takeaway food, and out to quite a large fella. I managed to lose a bit of weight and get on board with the running side of things, and I've kind of just built on that over the last 2 years, and I mean, once again, as I said, I'm no speedster, and I'm never going to be out there winning anything. I just think it's all about chipping away and setting goals, and kind of once you achieve things, looking at what's next, where can you move the bar to, and I've quite enjoyed so far the process of being part of Team CP, and having cracks at different goals, and just improving each time.
Mm-hmm. So that was going to be my last question, was what's your key one piece of advice you give to someone else?
I set goals as a
goals, and then keep sort of putting it out there, keep pushing the boundaries and seeing what I'm capable of.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess getting involved with the community as well. So the Team CP community that I've met at originally the Tuesday morning runs, and then Thursday evening. A great group of friends that I've been introduced to, and they're quite supportive and like really helpful, and kind of pushing me through and giving me new ideas, introducing me to different events and things like that. So I think the two things: setting goals and looking for improvement after each achievement, and then becoming part of a community and kind of helping each other, and that's the big things that I've learned and taken away from the last couple of years.
Perfect, George. Brilliant. That's awesome. And I think what I need to also add to that is that if you're not at work, if anyone wants to go for a run, George is up.
Yeah, I bet. I think I came in a bit too heavy with that one.
That's it. You better
block all accounts that are not friends with me. So
yeah, good stuff. No, that's awesome, George. Looking forward to supporting you, cheering on, and supporting you, and seeing how you get on at the Crazy K's Ultra later on in the year.
Yeah,
cool. Hey, thank you very much.
Cool.
Thanks, George.
Take care. Look after yourself.
See ya.
Well done, Angus. Another show in the bag.
Well, it is, but I'll tell you what we didn't talk about this morning. This morning to start.
Not that long.
It's been a long day, Richard. You've had me under the pump all day. We're at alert level 1, so we are back to normality. We've got obviously we've already got in level 2 we had some run groups going and bits and pieces, but essentially we're back at 1. We're back at some normality, and already there's events starting to pop up and events starting to lock in their dates. I know one of our favourite mountain biking events, the Waka 100, it's locked back in for Labour weekend. So I look forward to catching up with Tim in a few episodes about where they're at. And I've just got to say, Cross is back, Cross is coming, Cross is boss. If anybody out there is into cyclocross or wants to have a go at cyclocross, we are just putting the schedule together now. A winter's worth of high intensity dirt coming your way. So hook us up, get a hold of us or something. If you haven't done it before, if you're interested in it, we want you.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. And a good sort of family atmosphere that you run there, and lots of sort of laps. You don't get lost way out in the back or beyond. Lots of cheering on, lots of cowbells, lots of good fun.
So I tell you what hooked me, and we'll be real quick, but what hooked me wasn't on it is that I did get a bit sick of going to some events and some races where it was all high pressure and, you know, you're still in the start line, this person doesn't talk to you, and there's a whole lot of thing. At Cross, mate, everybody is your friend. There's plenty of rivalry and elbows out in mid-corner, but there's people supporting the previous races. The guys from that, girls and girls, they're all out on the course cheering and yelling. It's just the most greatest atmosphere that racing's ever given me. I think it's just good fun.
Good stuff. No, definitely keep us posted about when that's coming and when that gets organised. And last couple of things that we haven't shared yet. During lockdown, we did a whole bunch of challenges across the weekend. This weekend, we're going to bring back for the next 2 weekends, we've got a trig bagging challenge that we're going to put out there. So keep an eye out for that. How many trigs can you bag? So trigs are often at the top of a hill, that sort of triangle thing that you'll see. But they're also in sort of interesting places. There's one out at McLean's Island just on the side of the road I know about as well, which might be about a 3-metre journey to get to. Is
there a list we can look up somewhere?
Yeah, there is actually. So we'll share that with you on the there's a website that has them all over the place. So yep, so that's our next challenge for this weekend and next weekend. We're going to break it into 2 weekends, and then those people on shift work during the week can get involved as well. So that's happening, and then also our cycle kit orders finishing up this week. So if you're keen to get a piece of that action, jump in there and make sure you've got your order, and don't miss out this time around. That's the last time, officially the last time that they'll be put up.
Yep. Our hoodies have closed, and we've had a really successful uptake of the hoodies. So I'm looking forward to seeing people out there at events and pre-training things and whatnot wearing their hoodies. That's going to be great. And I hope we can get some more people to take up the kit as well, and just have as many people out there looking good doing it.
Cheering each other on. Absolutely. That's fantastic. You just got to be careful cheering each other on, is that you don't go too hard while people are cheering on and have to go around the corner and put your hands on your knees and trying to get your breath back. But that's just a little tip that I've learned over the years.
Very good.
Yeah, good job. Okay, well done, Angus. Thanks for coming. Thanks, everybody. Love your work, and have a fantastic rest of the week. We'll see you back next week.
Same bat channel, same bat time.
Cool.
Thanks,
job done.